always struggle to put my finger exactly on what, feminine and masculine energies means, because it's very fuzzy. There's not a clear definition.
Right.
I would say it's more in the way people interact, or maybe sometimes competitive, dominant, that for me it's more masculine energy. And feminine energies like can be more like empathetic, caring. Again, I'm talking about energy because I think everyone has a mix of the two.
Yeah.
Welcome to WITT. Hi, I'm Megan. I talk with founders, investors and operators working in tech. My aim is to inspire you with their stories and perspectives. Through this podcast, I want to amplify the voice of women working in tech. If you want to support WITT, then make sure you follow us on your favourite podcasting app. Then you won't miss any future episodes. Today's guest is Paola, a product owner using data and algorithms to make real-world impact. Let's go.
Hi, Paola. Welcome to WITT. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, Megan.
Awesome. Well, I would love to kick off our conversation with a lightning round. Is that okay?
Of course.
Let's jump straight in. Question number 1. What's one Finnish habit that you fully adopted?
I would say going into nature for like walks and enjoying that. Yes.
Love it. It's a great thing, I would say. And then question number 2. What is the biggest myth about working in the tech space?
The biggest myth, maybe I could say that it's all men. I mean, although it is a fact that we have less women in the space, I have to say that it really depends on the company. So I have been quite lucky in my career, and I found quite balanced workplaces, especially really in the tech teams. So
Interesting.
I would say a myth, just to say, research the company and you might be surprised.
Choose the right company then. I
Exactly.
like it. Question number 3. What is the first job you ever dreamed of having as a child?
Okay. Well, actually, I wanted to be in the police force.
Nice.
When I was a teen. Yeah, I don't know why that got into me, because I'm the least disciplined, and at the time I wasn't fit at all. So I don't know. But for like a year or so, I wanted to be in one of the Italian police forces, the Carabinieri one, specifically.
Okay, nice. Very random, but I like it. Question number 4. Is your brain more of a spreadsheet or a mind map?
I guess it depends. It depends what I'm doing. It can be both. So I have that adaptability.
Like a mixture. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, it's a mix. It really depends what I am doing.
Yeah, okay. Question number 5. In one word, what fuels you?
Curiosity.
Yeah, it's a common theme of curiosity, but it's so important. Question number 6. What's the best way to find a mentor?
I would say, like, go and look to the people you look up to. So who do you want to become? And I think that gives you a good pointer.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Question number 7. If you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about the world, what would it be? And why, obviously?
The silly answer is that the first thing that came into my mind was no pineapple on pizza. But I'm sure that if I really had a wand, I would think more smartly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I would go with like end the conflicts. I know it sounds cliche, but I really, really hate war. So if I could wave a magic wand, I would say that, simply because I think it's at the base of many other issues that we have in the world.
And pineapple on pizza.
Apparently my brain wants that more, so I have some time to think if I have a magic wand.
That makes a lot of sense, honestly. Like, okay, the fact that okay. Question number 8. Do you prefer mountains or ocean view?
I would say ocean view. I really love watching the sea.
Yeah, same. And then question number 9. As a product owner, what is your most critical skill?
Saying no to people.
Okay.
Like, you get a lot of requests from stakeholders, sometimes conflicting ones, but you have limited time capacity. Your team has limited energy, so being able to say no, it's a really important skill a product owner needs to have.
Yeah, makes sense. And then the last question for the lightning round is, if you had to describe your career journey in 3 emojis, what would they be and why?
Let's see. So maybe like I would put abacus, you know, because I study mathematics, and that was like a big part of my journey. It was like my beginning. I started working in academia there. Then I would say probably a computer, like the laptop emoji, because I went into IT, and since then I basically didn't leave the field of technology. And then I would put the kind of the emoji with the 2 people next to each other, because fairly since the beginning I always worked in people facing roles. So and I really love that. I really love to bridge, you know, between teams and to help people collaborate. I think it's where I thrive.
Okay, nice, lovely. I thought you were going to say like pizza or something. Pizza emoji.
You're like, no, I mean, that was just the magic wand.
Yeah.
See, don't trust me with too much power. I guess this is the message.
Yeah.
I will misuse it.
But that was really awesome. Thank you for answering my lightning round questions. And let's now move on to your journey, right? So let's kick off by talking about your career drivers. Now, you seem to have kind of 2 twin engines, curiosity and purpose, as you said. How have these engines kind of shaped your career to date?
Yeah, they have definitely been a driving force for me. I would say especially the curiosity, because since I was studying, since I was a girl, basically, even before my university studies, I really loved to learn through, you know, fire burning inside of me. So I was the kid you would find with a book in her hand all the time. I always was, if you will, a bit quirky compared to my peers. I was not interested in the mainstream things ever.
Fair enough.
I really love to learn new things, not necessarily like book kind of learning.
Right.
I love to try new things, to explore, to experiment, join new communities. So I always had this kind of growth mindset since very early on. And that dictated also my choices in my studies. When I was in high school, I met this really brilliant math teacher, and it just ignited a fire in me. And I went on and studied math because I loved it so much. I couldn't get enough of it. And it continued also in my career. So at some point I felt it was for me time to change direction, and I wanted to explore like technology, IT. And every time I went into a new role, curiosity was definitely a driving force. Like for me, it is very important to step into roles and companies where I feel I can grow as a professional and as a person. That is my main driver. And purpose as well. Like I need to feel that actually was one of the reasons why I left academia, because I felt at some point math was just too theoretical for me. And I was drawn into, I want to see more the impact of my work. And, and so it's important also for me to feel I am doing things both in the day to day and in like the bigger picture. Things that matter.
Definitely. I totally agree with these kind of 2 engines, as I phrased it, and having that kind of that curiosity of learning and kind of wanting to experience new things, and then that kind of voice in the back of your head saying, is what I'm doing making an impact? I love that. I have a little bit of a kind of a change of subject, but I wanted to talk about functional teams. Right. So a lot of modern businesses seem to be made up of a lot of functioning teams. So, you know, engineering, marketing, legal, operations, etc., etc., etc. And I would say one of your superpowers seems to be working across functional teams. Now, how are you best equipped for this role?
Yeah, and that's something I really, really love, because again, and maybe it connects again to curiosity, the idea of working with different teams, different people who have different perspectives. I was lucky to also work in companies where I always had those elements. Like they like fuel my passion. I think how I'm equipped for that, I would say really like the main element, if you dig, I mean, because you could go and talk about communication, stakeholder management, by all means, it's all true. But the core of it for me is empathy, really. Because in the end, even when you're doing effective communication, even when you're collaborating, you have to connect to people on a human level.
Yeah.
So you need to think in their shoes. You need to understand what their perspective is, what is their driver.
Yeah.
That informs you on how to talk to them in a way they can receive the message you want to send. It inspires you to also find the synergies where you make your point come across, but also where you find solutions that really fit everyone, that all the different teams, and that create that synergy that in the end is what makes businesses successful.
No, because it's definitely like you're communicating with another kind of type of person. Is you're talking to them like you're talking to them in a different language or something like that. So you have to really find that way to communicate correctly so everyone kind of understands, right?
Definitely. And it really boils down even to language. I mean, like different teams and people in them often have even literally like different languages. Like they speak with specific terms. And if you want to get your message across, you also need to learn that language.
To speak those different terms.
Yeah, to use like the terms that, not appeal to them, but where they understand what you mean. So it quite literally boils down to language sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Super interesting topic. And I want to talk a little bit about the kind of the rise of AI in this particular topic. Because I feel like that we're definitely going to see a collapse in all of those functions. Surely, because there are quite a lot in industries. And what is your views on AI and that kind of functional team aspect?
Interesting. To be honest, I don't know what's gonna happen. I hope it's not too nihilistic, but I don't trust humanity too much with these very powerful tools. I feel we saw something similar with social media already happening, where I think our use of it has been nothing short of a disaster, socially speaking. Like we are still experiencing a lot of negative adverse effects of our misuse, frankly. Social media is a tool like AI is. So it's about, will we use it wisely? I don't know. I think we live in a very profit-driven world, and so that makes me a bit pessimistic. Definitely, there's a lot of potential in AI. I don't think it is what many people make it to be in when you read on social media or such, where they are trying to say replace people with it.
No, of course not.
AI is an assistant. So I do believe there's a lot of potential in optimizing workflows, for sure. I do it even in my personal life.
Of course.
Everyone does. I think it will really depend how the single companies will use it. I think we will still value roles because AI doesn't understand. That is its limitation. AI works on probabilities, say, like, it makes a collage of words based on probabilities, but doesn't understand what it's saying.
Right.
So I think we will still value roles where, again, you need the human understanding and you need to communicate and create connection with people.
Yeah.
So let's see. I don't have predictions on AI. It's like such a huge thing. So like everyone else, I'm kind of observing, and I'm also trying to understand how to use it best in my work, in my team, and so on.
Because it is such a powerful tool, and you can use it to just incredibly increase your productivity, which is
absolutely
it's crazy. But as you said, it is very hard to track and to understand like what's actually happening and where it's going to go next.
Exactly. I think, I'm noticing also in my own life that I realized, how can I say, at first when I started using it, I used especially ChatGPT, I was very excited. And now that I used it for a little while in several contexts, I also start seeing its limitations.
Yes, of course.
Even things that are really mind-blowing to me. But then obviously, I'll give you an example. I was trying to I was preparing something like a game for kids, and I needed to code a message, and the code system was something very simple. It was just shift the letters of 3 spots.
Okay.
Very simple, so super mechanical task. And I said, why do I have to do it? I have to do it for a lot of text. I will feed it to ChatGPT. I will give it the instructions, and I wanted it to do it not with the English alphabet, but with the Italian one. So taking out some letters. And it did it for the first message after I said use the Italian alphabet. For the second one, also it reiterated the instructions. So it underlined, I'm going to use the Italian alphabet. It didn't use it. So I realized it's, you see, like, this is such a basic math task. And I realized, like, see, like, this is like something very stupid. It just made me reflect on the fact that we really need to understand this tool. It cannot do everything. And that the same goes for when we will take decisions in a business context, trying to understand what is really its potential, and also what are its risks in the long term.
Yeah, definitely. It is a very interesting time that we live in, I would say. I would definitely say it's an interesting time. But I want to look at your career now, right? So I see that you've been super successful in kind of a lot of, you said it wasn't very male dominated, but as we know, the tech industry is quite a male dominated industry. But you mentioned that you have used feminine energy. What does that mean? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I don't have like a clear definition of feminine energy. So definitely it's not the gender role. That's not what I mean.
Right. Okay.
But I do feel, I have to say, so like maybe tracing back a little bit to my career, my studies were very male dominated. So I was literally one of 2 women standing in a room full of men, especially towards the end. And I was lucky in my first company. I worked at Relics. I was lucky to find instead of quite balanced team, really on the technical side. I was surprised. But yes, like tech remains like a male dominated field, and I think it shows a little bit also in the way people interact with each other. And again, I struggle when I try to explain people this theory. I always struggle to put my finger exactly on what feminine and masculine energies means, because it's very fuzzy. There's not a clear definition.
Right.
I would say it's more in the way people interact, or maybe sometimes competitive, dominant. That for me it's more masculine energy, and feminine energies like can be more like empathetic, caring. Again, I'm talking about energy because I think everyone has a mix of the two.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean here? So I'm not saying men are competitive. Like, that's not what it is. And I do feel that, and I realized over time that I myself had unconsciously leaned into some of these kind of typical masculine energy behaviors to fit in, to adapt. And over time, growing up also, like, as a person, not just a professional, facing new phases of life, I became a mother as well. So those experiences also force you a little bit, I think, force you to confront like other sides of yourself. And again, in this sense of energies. And especially after my maternity leaves, I came back a little bit changed. And I also realized, like, I should not act like a man. I put it in quotes, but I should lean into really like also those qualities that I have that are like more feminine, because they actually, I realize they are one of my strongest assets. So over time, I noticed, for example, when I was leading teams, having this kind of like caring about the people, like truly caring, and getting almost like sometimes protection instinct for them, and being empathetic, being the kind of leader also that creates the safe space for them to share. Again, this for me is like more feminine energy. And I would really like to invite the women who work in this kind of male dominated fields to just like take a moment and assess if they are changing themselves to fit in, to sort of like play by the rules that they like pick up, sort of, or are they bringing their diversity in? Because I think we would really, like, we have this potential as women, as any minority, frankly, entering like in
Mm-hmm.
a field where you are a minority. We have this potential to bring the so-called power of diversity, like to bring those unique perspectives and these
Mm-hmm.
differences that enrich really the place.
Yeah, definitely. I really like this idea of different types of energy, because obviously, as you said, like, everyone has a kind of mix of that, and I feel like that is such an interesting point that no one really thinks about, which is it's just so cool. But super interesting conversation so far. Can we now talk about your role, right? Because I want to understand it a bit better. So you are a product owner at Sanoma Learning, and what does that involve? Like, what does it mean to be a product owner? What are your challenges? How do you lead others to create?
Yes, absolutely. I really love the name of the role because I sometimes tell it to people who are not in technology, and they
Right.
always think I own a business.
Yeah.
I own nothing. Nothing of that is mine. No, but I basically, like a product owner, basically is a sort of like leader in the
Mm-hmm.
software development team. They, like a software development team has a backlog, like a series of tasks, say,
Right.
features they want to release, changes they want to make in the product. Is managed as like a list, a backlog of
Mm-hmm.
items. And the product owner sort of manages that. So I
Mm-hmm.
have to prioritize, to decide what we should focus on. I need to
Mm-hmm.
do it aligning with the product strategy and the business strategy, aligning it with the rest of the context of the company,
Yeah.
what maximizing the value that our work brings for the end users. So in reality, what
Mm-hmm.
happens is that you have several stakeholders, sometimes the end user directly with their feedback, sometimes you have marketing or sales, they might have input
Mm-hmm.
for what the team should focus on. Sometimes you have the business side, maybe the product managers or even their
Mm-hmm.
managers. They want to like reach certain outcomes for the company. So everyone chips in with their requests.
Mm-hmm.
Some, Sometimes they come with a problem statement, or sometimes they come already like with a proposal of a solution. Maybe they have worked already with the designers. And I am sort of like the catalyst of all of this. Not
Right.
to mention, by the way, what the team itself suggests, because they know the product really well. They might
Yeah.
have suggestions also about how to make the product perform better in a technical sense, like be more robust, or to make some improvements that they have spotted, and so on, to fix, obviously, whatever doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work, bugs, incidents, and so on. So again, like I'm at the center of it all, and I
Yeah.
had to like absorb all of this information and then make decisions on what to prioritize, what to do first, where
Right.
to put our energies. And at the same time, I'm a bit also the bridge between the team and the rest of the organization. So I also have to keep the team motivated. I
Mm-hmm.
need to, it's very easy for the team to end up on, like focusing on the work to do and forgetting why they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I also need to communicate on a constant way. Why are we doing this? Why are we going in this direction? What are we
Mm-hmm.
trying to achieve here? So yeah, again, it's as you can see, it's a role of bridging between
Yes.
people and
Yeah.
communicating purpose, motivation, and
Mm-hmm.
prioritizing the work, since it's always limited resources.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds very chaotic
It
and
is.
very like a lot happening all at the same time, which
It is.
honestly sounds really fun to me, anyways.
It is fun. It is fun. And this is like, by the way, like my own experience of product owner, like it also
Mm-hmm.
depends where you work. In some cases, a product owner is also the one drafting the product strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Yeah.
really depends. Company to
Yeah.
company varies.
Definitely. Yeah. No. It sounds just absolutely insane, but super interesting at the same time. Now, I've got a kind of a related thing, but let's dig into your frameworks, right? So I would love to unpack your clear goal framework and your inseparable Trello board,
Yes.
because everyone should have their product marketing tool, which is inseparable from everything else. But yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so these are my simple ways to just, like you say, it's very chaotic. So you need systems. Otherwise, you're going to
Yeah,
lose your mind.
exactly.
A couple of things I do are, so the first one is my inseparable Trello board is what keeps me sane on the day to day, really, and keeps me productive. Because
Right.
especially in a work, in a role like this, it's very, very easy to stay busy,
Right.
like to get like you can be pulled in a million directions. And so I can totally see it happening that I wake up after 2 weeks and have no explanation what I have done for 2 weeks. Like,
Right. Okay.
I might be super tired, but what happened? So for me, the Trello board is how I keep myself accountable, and I just organize my own tasks, my own backlog, personal backlog. I just, that's where I say I take notes of all my action points that come from any direction, whether it's meetings, whether ideas I have that I try to translate in action points. And I have my own backlog, and I just have the today column, today list. And at the end of the previous day or in the morning, first thing I do is that I look at my calendar. I see how many meetings I have. That's also something I try to keep in check, not to have too high percentage of meetings. Otherwise, I could spend my life there. So I look, let's see, how much time for actual work do I have today? And based on that, I select. I always like use it to prioritize. I have a backlog, which is usually prioritized with nice labels on everything. And I just pick the most important things or time sensitive things for the day. So this is how I know. And it also helps me to keep track of what I have done, because then I just drag them in my done column. But it's especially to finish the day knowing that I have done what I wanted to do.
Right.
That is, it's how I keep myself accountable, and also like happy say that, that I don't have those days where I feel I have just been in a reactive mode. It's a similar thing for the goal setting. At the start of my career, I have to admit, because companies have these systems where like you have your yearly goals, right, that you have to track. At the start of my career, I dreaded that, and I know many people dread that. They're like, oh, why do I have to do this? It's just HR thing. And actually over time I realized, like, well, no, like I actually can do it for myself. Because yes, there is the day-to-day staying productive, but also you need to take a step back and see, what are you trying to achieve? It's just the same thing, that I might have solved initially for like my days, my weeks, but you need to also like take a step back and say, what do I want to try to achieve in the longer period,
in the long term.
And I sort of like took ownership of this process in the past few years, where I, instead of like, waiting for my manager to tell me like, okay, it's that time of the year, you have to come up, or let's come up with drafting some goals for the year, which always felt for the company. I took ownership of that, and I came with the goals, drafted goals also that were, yes, for the company, but also like about the direction where I wanted to go. I mean, this is what it's supposed to do, but it's unfortunately often treated like a chore on both ends, and so like, this gets forgotten. So in the past few years, I approached my manager like with these monster Excels in which I had used SMART goals. So this is the outcome we want to reach. So this is my proposal for my goals. This is how I'm gonna do it. This is when I'm gonna do it, and this is how I'm gonna measure it. And and it's been such a powerful tool, because
definitely
it gave me a clear direction over the rest of the year about what was important. So again, if you go back to the Trello board, my choices of how to distribute my work were also based on that. Like, it was a constant reminder of, hey, I also have these things to keep an eye on, not just the tasks that come my way. And it also offered a great foundation for me to have those mid-year and end-of-year discussions with my manager, because at that point I had clear metrics to measure what I was trying to achieve. And so it was clear, have I done it? Yes or no? So it was such a powerful tool also for my own self-advocacy inside the company, where I could also prove my contribution. So it's just something I'm happy to share, because I really hope that more and more people like like shift their perspective. It's actually not an HR chore. It can be like such a powerful tool, not only for the company to actually, so that you go in the right direction, but also, frankly, for yourself as an individual to
Definitely.
have a clear track record of
I
the
I
value.
think that is just, it's such a simple idea, but it's like so necessary in just day-to-day life, not even with a company. It's just generally like whatever you're doing, setting clear kind of goals of what you're going to do for the day or for the week or for the month or for the year is just such a good idea, and I definitely need to get better at it. Get better at that.
It's come. It took me, man. I mean, it took me many years. I think I become,
Right.
good at it. I would say I was already in my 30s. So, but
Okay.
it's definitely, I agree with you. It's something that actually work was like a good training field for me for this, but I brought it into my personal life as well. So it makes me feel so much better, like to
Yeah,
really be
definitely.
able to break down those goals and basically become the person you want to become, because that's also.
Yeah, exactly. I think we definitely can all take a page out of your book and definitely implement this into our own lives. But yeah, no, definitely great. Now we've entered the part of the podcast which I like to call the zigzag zone. So I want to know where you're zagging and everyone else is zigging. Now, you talked a little bit about the difference between growing your career and growing your salary, how that kind of sometimes overlaps and then other times it doesn't. Expand on this point for me.
Sure. I think we are a bit trapped, and I have made this mistake as well, into thinking that yes, like growth means always like corresponds to a growth of your salary.
Right.
I once saw like a post on LinkedIn. It sounded really trivial, but it wasn't. They said a workplace should make you either learn or earn, at
Okay.
least one of the two. And frankly, I thought I was already, it was like not long ago, so I was already in my, mid senior level of my career, and I was like, this is so right, like it's really true. So sometimes people feel discouraged if they get an offer which is like lower than what they're getting. And now I'm excluding people where they have real money situation, right? Like if you need the money, you need the money. There's
Yeah,
no way
yeah, yeah,
around it.
yeah.
I get it. But let's talk about if you have some margin in your life, if you can actually make that choice. It's not a step back to take a salary cut if you are going in the right direction for yourself. If, for example, you are, say, switching career, or maybe you're not even switching career, but you're going to a place which will make you grow as a person and as a professional. Again, it's the learn part of that.
Yeah, yeah.
So something similar for me happened when after my first job in IT at Relix, I shifted working for INGO. I shifted working for Plan International. And at the time, like I saw that opportunity. They were offering a temporary contract, and I had a permanent one at Relix. And I felt like, like this feels less, like it felt like
Yeah.
it wasn't exactly the money bit, but it was like still like, am I taking a step back? Like, am I putting myself in a situation which is work? I'm so happy that I actually took that chance, because it completely changed so many of my perspectives on so many things. I had such a great experience there. It was really a before and after experience for me in my career, and even as a person in many ways. So like, it also left me with this notion that its salary doesn't have to grow all your life. It's about growing in general as a professional and as a person. If you feel that you're going the right direction for yourself, like don't be too tied to money, because money actually also don't keep your motivation for too long. Like some workplace can offer you like a huge pile of money. You will be happy maybe 6 months, maybe a year, but even if the workplace is not too bad, like I don't think it can drag people's motivation for long. So I personally like realizing also that I wasn't motivated for money. That money for me are like the moment that I meet my expenses and I can take care of my family. That's enough for me. Like I don't have the dream of sleeping in a lot of money. So for me, those are other things that matter to me, is like really growing, learning, continuous learning, and going to work, being happy going to work. like working with people I like, that
Yeah.
where it's a joy, to go to
Yeah.
work. That's very
Yeah.
important for me.
Yeah, definitely. It goes back to your whole idea around kind of purpose, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We are on this planet to live a good life. Things can end, like nothing is permanent in this world. So I
Yeah.
think it's I mean, sometimes it makes sense to chase the money, I think, temporarily, if you have a plan, if you have a project. Then it just becomes an element, but not just chase money for themselves or for status, or because it's sort of like what has been ingrained into your brain. But that's how you climb. But define your own growth, define your own climbing for yourself. This is, I guess, the takeaway for me.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a good point, I would say. It's such a good point. I think that's a good note to end on. And let's now move into story time. Right? So for me, sadly, learning languages is not my superpower. But for you, it seems like it is. So I want to know how you learnt Hindi in 6 months and then went on a trip to India. How did that happen?
Languages are not my superpower either, so I was very, very surprised.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
What happened? Yes, no, my son is actually Indian. I adopted him several years ago already, and we were finally planning the trip, like the first trip since I met him in India. Like, so I was trying to go alone with him, and at the same time, I love India, love Indian culture. And it was kind of random, to be honest. It was kind of random. I have a dear friend, she's Italian as well. She lives in Delhi, and we were just randomly talking, and she said, I started studying Hindi with this teacher here, and he's really good. I was like, I would start too.
So okay,
like it wasn't planned. At that point, I knew we would travel like a few months later. And I also wanted to, I know, like, to learn a culture, knowing the language, it just sets you on another level. So we already had this curiosity. And I mean, India, talk about being driven by curiosity. India is like a huge culture. Even Indian people don't know everything about India. You know what I mean? It's like massive. So it's just, like with sparkly eyes, I said, like, okay, like this could be good also for my son later. He might want to learn. Maybe I can help him. And so I just, okay, let's do it. And I went, I don't know why, it wasn't like a conscious decision, but I got super passionate right away. And I dived in. So I was working hard with this teacher. I was lucky that I used the language learning app. So I met some language partners, and I was lucky to also find the people who were equally motivated to learn English or Italian. And I was just breathing Hindi for like 6 months. And it was so funny because after 6 months, I ended up speaking much better than my friend living in India who had started before me. So my teacher, we shared the teacher. So he was so proud of me, and he was so disappointed. And I was saying, like, you have no excuses. I'm in Finland.
Yeah, that's a pretty crazy story. Really, really interesting. But we're now sadly coming to the end of the episode, but I do have 3 final questions for you. So first one is, imagine it's 2035. What does your life look like, or your career?
I have a bit of a dream in 10 years, roughly 10 years. And so that will be when my kids would be grown up, and I hope living by themselves. I have a dream that I have reached a situation where I'm not tied to a location, so I can work from potentially anywhere.
Right.
And I would like, I'm not saying I want to be a digital nomad necessarily, but I would like to not be dependent on location, so that if I want to move around or move elsewhere, I can.
Okay.
So that is my long-term project.
I like it. I like
working in technology, most likely.
Yeah.
And I hope in product, because I really love it. The how is not clear yet to me, whether I will like find a company that lets me do it, or will I open my own business. It's too far-fetched for me to know. My life has been changing so fast. So making 10 years detailed plan doesn't work for me. But I would like to reach the state where I can I can travel more freely.
Definitely. It makes a lot of sense. Question number 2. How can listeners follow along with your journey?
I would say find me on LinkedIn. I'm also trying to post regularly. So I try also to post about my experience working in product, or sometimes tips for job seekers, because I can see that now it's a hot topic in Finland. So I'm trying also to, having switched fields, if you will, several times, I'm trying to share what I know. Or I've been in Finland now for 15 years. I also follow a lot of people who share such advice. So I'm trying also like to pass some value around for that.
Right.
But especially if you're interested, in technology, product, sometimes productivity hacks, you can follow me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. And then last question, how can listeners be useful to you? So what can they do to help you?
Especially for people who work in product like me, I would really, really love to connect. Very eager to learn from others. I've been trying also to be more active with my networking, because I am craving that sense of community really of product people. So if you work in product, definitely send me a connection request and let's even meet up, especially if you're in Finland. I would love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on my podcast. I'm really looking forward to following along with your journey, but thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really, really fun. I love your questions, and I've become a listener now. So I am one of your followers on Spotify.
Yay! I'm glad. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. To make sure you don't miss next week's episode, follow us on your favourite podcasting app. Do consider leaving us a review, as it helps the podcast tremendously.